What is going on, guys? What's going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video, and we finally got around to making our first mock draft. I realized that free agency is literally just around the corner, starting Monday, officially Tuesday. So I'm like, I gotta get out a mock draft now so that I can release one after free agency, and because a lot of the roster changes will be very different. So without further ado, let's get into the mock draft. Before we start, as always, guys, if you guys are enjoying the content, hit that like button for me. It helps me out a lot. You guys have really been enjoying the content lately. I'm going to try to keep rolling this thing on. I'm really excited for the future. I really want to get around to doing more like film studies and stuff like that, but the college football, they are insane when it comes to like striking down videos and channels for showing film. It's ridiculous. The NFL allows it. Why doesn't college football? It's beyond me. As you guys can tell by the title, this is the trade up edition, so we're not doing a regular mock draft. This is if the Giants trade up, what would the trade sort of look like? In the best of my ability that I can guess, it can look like in a totally different ways. Everybody has their own mock trade that they've done, but this is what I think could possibly happen if the Giants were to trade up to the #1 overall pick. And let me know if you guys like it. If you guys don't, you guys don't. So I'm really torn on if the Giants should trade up or not, but I'm a huge Cam Ward guy, not so much of a Shadira guy. So obviously, you know, I would probably lean more towards a trade, but we'll have to see what the compensation is. But let's get on to it. All right, I kind of spoiled who we're going to pick in the beginning, but you guys know who it is. But let's get on to the trade and the compensation for it. So as you guys can see, I have the Giants moving up, obviously swapping those picks 1 and 3, and the Giants receiving a 5th round pick in return to try to equal out compensation, because the Giants are going to be sending edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeaux over there to the Tennessee Titans. I'll get into that in just a second. And the Giants gave up a 3rd round this year and a 2nd round next year. I think the only way the Giants can avoid not giving up a 1st round pick next year, and 2, the 2nd round pick this year, and kind of make it a 3rd this year and a 2nd next year, is if the Giants were to include a player that can be of value for the Tennessee Titans. They just released Harold Landry, who in a lot of conversations were brought up that he would be added into a trade package, most recently with the New York Giants. I didn't think it made sense for the Giants to trade for Harold Landry, but they can definitely send Kayvon Thibodeaux over there if they don't feel like they are going to, you know, if they have Kayvon Thibodeaux in their future plans. Kayvon Thibodeaux is entering in his last year in his rookie contract, and you would have to, you know, pick up his 5th-year option. And if the Giants don't want to do that, they can just send him off as a part of the trade package to possibly get your future franchise quarterback in the building. Now, some of you guys may not like this, but I think of it as, listen, if the Giants really believe in Cam Ward, he is going to be worth giving up a player like Kayvon Thibodeaux, who is kind of on and off, has some good moments, has some bad moments, and if you want to keep him around, you'll have to pay him some decently heavy money, and you already have Brian Burns making almost $30 million a year. You can possibly go in free agency and get another edge rusher to complement Brian Burns in the future, much cheaper, or just draft one. So I think that is kind of the logic to put in there, to send Kayvon Thibodeaux to kind of sweeten up the deal for the Tennessee Titans and not have to give up or avoid giving up a 1st round next year or giving up a 2nd round this year, and instead giving up that 2nd round next year. So that's the trade compensation. I know a lot of people always say that, hey, you know, when it comes to trading for a quarterback, there's always a premium, there's always extra price. I get that, but you guys think that it's going to cost us a 1st, you know, or the swap of the 1 to 3, it's going to cost a 34th overall pick this year, it's going to cost a 1st round pick next year, and a player as well. Like, you guys blow it completely out of proportion. Go look back at quarterback trades throughout the years. Yes, there's a little bit of a premium, but you guys are acting like they have to give up everything that they have in all their riches to get the quarterback. It's not that way. I know it's a long time ago, but look back at that Mike Vick draft. He was drafted number 1 overall. The Falcons were at the 5th overall pick. Okay, the Giants were at the 3rd overall pick. The 5th overall pick, they traded up to 1, and they didn't even need to give up a first round next year. All right, with that out of the way, I'm sorry I had to explain it because I already knew everybody's going to be typing in the comments how they don't want to let Kayvon Thibodeaux go or whatever the case may be. I think it makes the most sense, and it could actually give something. Yeah, you're acting like we can give up like Nacho over to them and they'll accept it. You got to give somebody a value. All right, so with the 1st overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. I think he's the number 1 quarterback this year in this draft, and I think the gap is getting more and more wider as we talk about the differences between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I just think his ceiling is through the roof. Now, is he a perfect prospect by any means of the imagination? Absolutely not. There are a lot of flaws to his game that needs working out, but if you get this guy to work out, he can be a top quarterback in this league. He has one of the best releases, the arm releases that I've seen in a quarterback. Is his arm the best, like Josh Allen level? I don't think it's Josh Allen level. He can definitely rip it downfield. There could be something in his footwork. He has no footwork at all. He is a nonchalant thrower. He's just very confident in his arm. That's something that is definitely going to be worked at in the NFL. But I think the arm problems is just a lack of technique of flipping those hips, whipping his body to get the ball downfield. He just doesn't have that yet. He just doesn't do that yet. But I think that can be worked out. But as far as the short to intermediate, I mean, that ball comes out in a flash. He's going to be a guy that you can play zone coverage on your wide receiver and try to bait the quarterback, but it's not going to work. I've seen him multiple times have 2 cornerbacks on a wide receiver baiting him, and he still fits the ball in there before the cornerbacks can even react to what's going on. He's going to be a guy that cornerbacks fear. I guarantee it, especially in the quick game. You're not going to be able to give any cushion to these wide receivers because Brian Daboll and his scheme, he likes to draw up a lot of short in-breaking routes that collide with each other to try to get other guys open. Like, he can work with that, and Cam Ward will be very efficient in that game, especially with his release package. So I love Cam Ward. I think the ceiling is through the roof. He makes plays happen. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he makes plays happen. Think of like Ben Roethlisberger, and Ben Roethlisberger it just looks like an offensive lineman playing a quarterback sometimes, or a tight end or something like that. But he's a scrambler. He's not a guy that's gonna beat you with athleticism, but he knows how to move in the pocket, extend the play, and make insane throws into the end zone for a touchdown. Like, Cam Ward will absolutely make your jaw drop as far as the things that he's able to do as far as off script goes. By the way, guys, I'm going to try to put the highlights or film in these videos, but like I said, college football is like flagging everybody's video, so I apologize if you just see highlights and not film. I know a lot of you guys love film, but it's hard to put film in videos nowadays, I swear. So I got to try to find good B-roll and edits and stuff like that to try to give you guys what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on to the 2nd round pick the New York Giants have, and they select Darius Alexander, defensive interior out of Toledo. Smaller school, but man, if you watch him on tape, the Giants need defensive interior help. You guys know that as well as anybody. Looking at this Giants roster and looking at how putrid they played last season, especially absent of Dexter Lawrence. He's the only guy in the middle of that defense that can do anything. And in the 2nd round, I think this is a perfect time to select a guy that can complement Dexter Lawrence, not have to be the number 1 guy, and still get production out of that. We like Nacho, I guess. We really love the story of Elijah Chapman, but it's just not enough. If you get a guy like Darius Alexander, sit him at 3 tech next to Dexter Lawrence, who's going to be playing the nose. I mean, the middle of that defensive line is going to be absolutely impenetrable, especially in that run game. And Darius Alexander also adds in the pass rush game as well. Yeah, very strong, extremely powerful, ran a 4.95 in the 40. He's an absolute specimen in the middle of that defense. His arms are absolutely violent. When he hits a swipe move or a punch on you, those linemen feel it. And on top of that, he's 6'4", I believe 310. He's got a nice slim frame where he's able to kind of squeeze through the gaps and get to the ball carrier or try to pressure the quarterback. He excels well at that. So I think this is a perfect time to get a guy next to Dexter Lawrence. It's been a huge need for this team for a while. All right, so now let's move on to our 4th round pick. Now, again, the Giants traded their 3rd round pick to the Tennessee Titans, so they don't get to have that 65 overall pick. So now we jump all the way to the 4th round, 104th overall. This is the first 4th round pick of the 2 that the Giants have. And with that pick, the New York Giants select Kobe Bryant, the cornerback out of Kansas. Now, if you look at his stature, 6 foot, 180 pounds, sort of reminds me of like kind of the frame and size and weight of Cordell Flott, but I think he can be a lot better. If you watch Kobe Bryant play, he plays with that Mamba mentality, like Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant. If you watch him on film, he's got that dog in him, man. Yes, he's smaller, but one thing you guys heard me say on this channel over and over and over again, that when I'm looking at a cornerback, I'm not just looking at his arm length, his weight, his height. I'm looking at, are you annoying? Are you a nuisance? Are you just an absolute diva to handle? Wide receivers could be divas. They've got a track record on that. Cornerbacks need to be just as diva-ish. You got to go out there and act like you're the best player on the field time and time again, every play. And Kobe Bryant goes out there and proves that. I mean, he is extremely physical for his size, only weighing about 180 pounds. He plays very close to the receiver, although he's like kind of like off-zone coverage sort of cornerback, which is why I kind of chose him to be selected for the Giants. He's a very good scheme fit as far as the defense that Shane Bowen likes to run. And he's a very, very smooth mover. If you watch him running and strafing on the field, breaking down on routes, flipping his hips, I mean, he's extremely athletic. That's another thing I look at it when it comes to corners. Yes, you can kind of go back and forth as far as is he a scheme fit or not, but if you're running, zone defenses and you need guys to kind of shift directions very quickly, break down on routes if you're playing off coverage, Kobe Bryant provides just that. And he actually tries in the run game. This guy tries to make a play every snap. The ball carrier could be all the way across the field. He's running towards them. The wide receivers, he doesn't give up on the play. He plays very close to him, like I mentioned earlier. And in the run game, he actually tries. It's hard to find a corner that actually tries to put in an effort versus the run. And the guy, like I said, is 6 foot, 180 pounds. He's not big. If I go back and I think about like smaller corners that really, made an impact in the NFL, and I always think of Jair Alexander out of Louisville when I watched him all that long time ago. It's hard to imagine. That was like 7 years ago almost, but he was tiny. Jair Alexander, how tall is he? Like 5'10" or something like that? The dude plays outside corner, and he's one of the most talkative, diva-ish cornerbacks on the field, and that's why he's one of the best in the NFL. It's when you are a nuisance to handle as a cornerback, sometimes it does not matter how tall you are, as long as you play to a bigger size, it's not going to matter. And Kobe Bryant is just that. He's an excellent fit for the team, and I think the Giants could use a player like him. Now, when it comes to the cornerbacks, I really think the Giants are going to target cornerback heavily in this draft. I'm not expecting Kobe Bryant to be the number 1 corner for the Giants. Deonte Banks is probably going to be, moved back to a cornerback 2 spot like he did in his rookie year, and the Giants are going to go out and get a number 1 corner to fill in that role. And Kobe Bryant's going to be a guy that come in every once in a while, and the Giants are going to be there to develop him, and maybe he can have some starting experience in the future. I don't imagine any corner that the Giants draft, whether it be in the 2nd round or 3rd round, 4th round, to start, unless the Giants do not draft the quarterback in the 1st round and they go Travis Hunter. That's the only guy I think that's going to be starting over Deonte Banks. I don't see anybody else moving to number 1 corner over Deonte Banks. I think the Giants are going to go out in free agency and throw big money at a cornerback. All right, our next pick in the 4th round, 134th overall, the New York Giants select another defensive end from UCLA. If you guys remember back in like 2015 when the Giants selected Owamebe Odigizua, the Giants now select Oluwafemi Oladejo, the edge rusher out of UCLA. Listen, he fits the Giants kind of trend of drafting these defenders with just weird names. But hey, Owamabe Odigizua, now it's Oluwafemi Oladejo. So let's go. Now, here's a guy who was a 3-star recruit as a linebacker. In fact, he played linebacker the majority of his collegiate career. It was only until 2024 where he's moved from a off-ball linebacker to a full-time edge rusher, and he is an absolute ball of clay. This is a guy that has a huge ceiling. In fact, if you look at where this guy is projected at in the draft after switching over to the edge rusher position, it is all over the place. I've literally seen all rounds from 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know if I saw 6, but somewhere in that range. Nobody knows where this guy is actually going because he's so new at the position. And I think he's a ball of clay. He's a guy that the Giants can mold into a decent edge rusher. He's definitely a 3-4 edge rusher. You watch this guy off the line, you would say, why the hell wasn't he rushing the passer before? Why did it take so long for him to find his groove as an edge rusher? Because his burst off the ball is phenomenal, right? He plays with urgency, and he plays the run pretty well. Having that linebacker background, he's able to, to get through gaps very easily and wrap up and tackle easily, because you guys know linebackers, they pride themselves in being able to tackle ball carriers, and he does just that. So he's not one of these guys going to slip off blocks, and he has the good weight. I believe he's like 6'3", 6'4", in that range, 261. So I think he's at a perfect size as a 3-4 edge rusher, and he's a guy that can complement Brian Burns coming in on a rotation and develop and learn. He doesn't have all the pass rush moves yet. You see him kind of working on that. You can see a guy that's actively working on being an edge rusher, right? He's a guy that's learning. You see him use pass rush moves here and there, tries to orchestrate them the best he can, but it's not all there yet. He's got a little bit, he's working on that bend. It's not quite there, but he's very fast off the corner, and I think he's a guy that the Giants can bring in and develop along with Brian Burns, and just have a bunch of speed coming off the edge. And the Giants need to do something. If we trade Kayvon Thibodeaux, got to do something in the draft to kind of help that edge rush group, but just a little bit. We don't know what's going on with Azeez Ojulari, and the Giants just re-signed Timon Fox, but we really don't know what's going on with Azeez or any other edge rusher for that matter if they get rid of Kayvon. All right, now in the 5th round, guys, I think I found a diamond in the rough here. We're gonna go back to the University of Kansas. We just drafted Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. We're gonna go back to the University of Kansas, this time on the offensive side of the ball, and with the 155th pick, the New York Giants select Logan Brown, tackle out of Kansas. This is a guy that hasn't gotten much experience or even a chance to go out there and prove himself all that much. He started out in Wisconsin, played a majority of a backup role, dealing with some injuries there at Wisconsin, wasn't able to get on the field, then goes to Kansas and just blows it up. I think he made like 2nd team all Big 12. And check this out, he was also a former 5-star recruit coming out of high school. This guy was highly regarded, highly scouted coming out of high school. Like I said, was dealing with injuries in Wisconsin and also never really got a chance to shine in Wisconsin. So he transfers to Kansas, has a leg injury in his first year in Kansas, but comes out here 1 year, had a phenomenal year, made 2nd team all Big 12. And you can see when you watch his film that he is a former 5-star recruit. Has a great frame at right tackle, shows great athletic ability, shows great strength, power, shows a good anchor and good arm technique as well. I've seen multiple draft analysts speak highly of Logan Brown, and so I think he'll be a good fit as a swing tackle for the Giants. You guys know that when it comes to the 5th round, you got to start getting depth pieces, and the Giants need somebody at those tackle spots. We got to stop putting Josh Azudu back there or Evan Neal back there when Andrew Thomas or Jermaine Illuminor get hurt. We have to get some plan at tackle. I think Logan Brown could be a good developmental piece there. All right, with our next 5th round pick, this is the pick that we got from the Tennessee Titans. So the Giants don't actually have this pick. It's a pick that we got in this mock trade, 168th overall. And I have the New York Giants selecting Kobe Hudson, wide receiver out of UCF. I was going back and I was just looking through possible candidates in the 5th round for a wide receiver that the Giants can get to try to help that depth. It's so hard to find a guy that is actually good at route running. This is one of the very few guys later in this draft that actually excel at route running, because I'm not going to get a guy like Dante Thornton or something like that also coming out of Tennessee that can't run routes. We already have a problem with that with Jalen Hyatt. I'm not going to get out of here, get a guy that's going to like drop balls constantly. Like Kobe Hudson is a guy I'm definitely considering if the Giants, need a wide receiver in the 5th round. I think he fits what Brian Daboll wants to do to a T. He's built with a stocky frame. I believe he's like 6'1", 6'2", just about 200 pounds or so. Has a little bit of shorter arms, but he makes those contested catches. He plays a lot bigger than he is. He plays with a physical mentality, and he's a great route runner. I love his savviness at route running, and on top of that, he has a good release package with the footwork off the snap. He can get open in a snap, on an inside break and completely leave a cornerback in the dust. Like, that's what we need for the Giants, especially if you could line him up on the outside. You have a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson already in the slot. Kobe Hudson can play on the outside, although he's played inside and out at UCF, but he's a guy that I think fits what the Giants want to do perfectly. You don't always have to go in these later rounds and just draft guys that play special teams. Kobe Hudson is a guy that I think can contribute to the offense if you draft him. The Giants drafted Darius Slayton in the 5th round, and look how that turned out. So you don't just need to draft guys that add to special teams. You can get guys that contribute on day one. Speaking of special teamers, I found a guy that could contribute a lot to special teams. In fact, was a core special teams player in college, and I think fits a need that the Giants have been desperately looking for on defense, and that is Keaton Crawford, the safety out of Nevada. One of the smoothest movers at safety that I've looked at in this range as far as safeties go, because I'm looking for a guy that can play center field. I'm looking for a guy that can play deep coverage, because all the Giants have right now are a bunch of box safeties, to be honest with you. We don't know what's going on with Jason Pinnock. We don't know how heavy the Giants are looking into the safety position in free agency. And the Giants, all they have right now is Dane Belton and Tyler Nubin, and they play similar roles. It's going to be quite a problem if you have Dane Belton back there. I know he's a ball hawk, but Dane Belton is still not a free safety, and Tyler Nubin, we know, is just not a free safety either. We need somebody that can play back there. The Giants run a lot of cover 3, and we just don't have a guy to play center field. Keaton Crawford, I have a chance of possibly starting for this team, filling some needs as well. He played 100 special team snaps. This guy played 1,010 special team snaps. He is going to be on special teams if he's drafted to an NFL team. And he also, like I said, he fills that need that the Giants have been looking for. We can draft him and bring him in to compete for a, kind of a deep safety role when the Giants want to run that cover 3 or in 3 safety sets. We need somebody in the backfield, even in those cover 2s, when we have 2 deep safeties, a guy that can roam around the field. He can move extremely well. If you watch him break down on routes, he moves extremely. If you watch him strafe, if you watch him backpedal, flip his hips, very fluid hips. That's what I'm looking for at a range this low in the 7th round. You just want to see a guy that can move really well. You want to see a guy that you can mold into a good player. You can teach him all those schematic stuff in the NFL, but you just want a guy that has the ability to move around and has those traits at the safety position. All right, with the last pick that the Giants have, I was going to double dip corner. I was going to double dip wide receiver, but instead I'm going to go and address the running back position. It's a position that nobody really thinks needs to be addressed because we have Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, but the Giants lack some power there with the running back core. And this late in the in the draft, you're not going to find a lot of like 230-pound running backs that are just there for the taking, because that's kind of a rarity nowadays, and they kind of get drafted a little higher because a lot of these running backs are just quicker, faster, smaller now, so they're very scarce. So the best I can see in this range is Montrell Johnson Jr., the running back out of Florida. He's a guy that can run in between the tackles. He's not the biggest you've ever seen. I believe he's coming in at about like 6 foot or 6'1" or something like that, and 16 pounds. Not much bigger than what the Giants have right now at running back, but can play bigger than he actually is. And a lot of people project him to be a third-round running back, a power back, if you will, in the NFL, and a guy that can run in between the tackles and get you those tough yards on third down. His contact balance is pretty damn good. He finds a way to stay on his feet, and he's trucked a lot of guys in his collegiate career in between the tackles. So the Giants want to help address that running back position a little bit and try to get themselves some sort of a semblance of a power back. They can go ahead and get Montrell Johnson Jr. And on top of that, if that's going to be his role in the NFL, he's 215 right now. If you look at his frame, he can definitely add on some weight. He can get up to 220, 225, and kind of focus on being a power back, a third down back, and compete with Eric Gray for that position. Because listen, Eric Gray ain't that good as it is. All right, so you can get a guy that has a good burst of speed and also some power, and he can compete with Eric Gray Jr. That is Montrell Johnson. So that is the mock draft. It's a little different than what you guys are used to. I've seen other New York Giants mock drafts in the past. None of them really have the players that I have them selecting. So that being said, what do you guys think about this mock draft? This is just the first edition this year. We're going to do another one right after free agency. I'll probably wait a week or so after free agency to see everybody that the Giants sign, because it may come in spurts. It may, be big on day one and nothing will happen for a couple of days and another guy is signed. So we'll wait to see how free agency plays out, and we'll throw out another mock draft, and we'll see how those trade talks are going for the #1 overall pick. So that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. And all that being said, I'm Kid Blue, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Woo!